Hey everyone, and welcome back to STEM Girl Budgeting. If you're new here, I'm a 26-year-old woman living in a high cost of living city with my husband, and today we're going to be going over my 2025 spending Wrapped. So I did already make a annual spending recap video, and that was a lot of different details, but today I'm actually going to show you what I presented to my husband. So my husband and I do budget together in this budgeting software that we use called You Need a Budget, but he doesn't really pay attention to reports. And so every single year I sit down with him and go over our numbers so that we can just talk about it and both be aware of what we spent over the year. And this year I decided to make a PowerPoint presentation because I saw a trend on TikTok of people doing that for their spouses that are a little bit less involved in looking at the reports of their finances. And I thought that was a really fun idea. And so, a couple weeks ago, I just threw together this presentation for him. It took me maybe like 2 hours or less to just make this presentation for him. And then I presented it to him. He loved it. We had a great time. So I thought I would show you guys what we presented in case that inspires you. So let's just jump into the presentation now. So starting off, we have our combined gross income. We made $162,812 this year, and my husband was like, yay, we made $162,000. So this was the most we've ever made in a year. Last year, we had made under $110,000 or right around $110,000. So this was a big jump. We increased our gross income by $50,000, and that was due to my husband getting a new job, and then I also took on a side position as a teaching assistant. I'm a PhD student, so my living stipend is pretty set, but I did get additional income as a teaching assistant. But yeah, combined gross income, we were super happy and proud of this. And then obviously we cannot keep all of this money ourselves. We have to pay our taxes to the federal government and the state. So after taxes, we made $130,872.54. So this is the exact amount of money that we actually had available to us to spend. So I really like looking at this after-tax number. So I haven't deducted out health insurance, pre-tax investments, anything. This is just our gross income minus the amount of taxes we paid. So this is the total amount of money that we actually had available to either invest or spend. So this number is, I think, a very important number to know if you don't know this number. So where did all that money go? So it went into 3 different pots. So investments, spending, and saving. 47% went to investments, 49% went to spending, and then 4% wasn't spent or invested, so it was saved. So that breaks down to $61,500 to investments, $63,783 to spending, and $5,588 to savings. Overall impressions, my husband was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like that's around what I expected. So that was cool. Okay, so then to break down investments further, I told him okay, we invested $18,100 into our taxable brokerage. We did $14,000 to our Roth IRAs, $13,875 to my husband's traditional 401k, and then $11,125 to my husband's Roth 401k, and then lastly, $4,400 to his HSA. So we were very happy with this breakdown. My husband was like, wow, that's a lot of money. And I was like, yes, it is. But he wasn't surprised because he knew that we were investing a lot of money. So then pop quiz, my husband started dying laughing when the slide pulled up. He was like, what? There's going to be a pop quiz? But yeah, I asked him, which of these categories do you think we spent the most in? Travel, gifts and donations, or healthcare? And he was like, I think gifts and donations, right? Because we gave a lot this year. We donated a lot this year. And I was like, honey, do you not remember how much we pay for your healthcare? And he was like, oh yeah, we pay a lot of money for my health insurance because he's self-employed. It's like $500 a month. So healthcare by far, and then it was gifts and donations, and then travel if you're curious. So breaking down our total spending, that was $63,783, with 46% of that going to housing specifically. So pop quiz again. How much did we spend on food this year? And my husband actually got this one right. We spent $8,470, and that's pretty normal for us. We actually spent the same amount in 2024. And then I divided our spending into core spending and then lifestyle spending. So for core spending on things that are kind of needs, $49,748.05, with 59% of that being housing, the next highest being food, healthcare, transportation, dues and subs, and then laundry and household. And then to further break down food, it was split between groceries and dining out pretty evenly, which is normal for us in a given year. And then I did have him guess our top 4 dining out locations. So yeah, this was funny because we're just like the most predictable people ever, and we definitely have our favorite places. To remain anonymous, I'm not going to actually tell you the exact places where we were eating out, but I'll tell you like the type of food it was. So our top one was the crepe place. He actually got this wrong. He forgot about it, but then once I told him, he was like, oh yeah, of course we spent the most money at that crepe place. We love that place. And then there's this one burger place that we went to a lot, and then there's this Thai place that we went to a lot, and then we went to this other burger place. So we actually did guess the 2 burger places and the Thai place correctly. He just didn't get the crepe place correct, but he should have gotten that correct, so that was silly of him. And then for healthcare, I just wanted to show him, like, this is how much we spent on your health insurance. His health insurance went up in price once he became self-employed in May, so January through April, it was very, like, inexpensive, maybe, like, $100 a month, and then it went up to, like, more like $500 a month. And then we have to both pay for our health insurance, and then we also had some out-of-pocket medical. Most of this was actually me, because I had to get, like, a mouth guard, and then some other random things, so yep, $5,796 on healthcare this year. And then transportation, so this breakdown is always fun and interesting, so I feel like most of this is pretty standard. You know, we spent $436 on public transit and rideshare, $980 on gas. We don't drive like so much, which is why it's, you know, we don't even spend $100 a month on gas because we do live in a city where we can just walk and take public transit, but it is very convenient to have a car for random things like going to the grocery store. And then I did point out to him, though, that we did spend $600 in parking tickets this year. And this isn't too bad considering the fact that if we did pay for a designated parking spot, and this wouldn't be like a covered parking spot or anything, this would just be like out in the open, that would probably be like $200 to $300 a month. So yes, we paid a lot of different tickets this year. I think 12 or something. I don't remember the exact number. I think it was like over 12 parking tickets this year. Also, I think we got towed once or twice, so maybe it wasn't quite 12. But yeah, I was like, you know what? Even though we got all these parking tickets this year, like, it's still cheaper than what paying for a parking spot would be. So I think that's okay. Okay, and then for lifestyle spending, $14,035.88. So the highest was gifts and donations at $4,300, then travel at $3,500, shopping at $2,000, fitness and beauty also at $2,000, and then about $1,800 on activities, and then a small bit on gifts to each other. So gifts and donations was by far our highest category at $4,300, and so we donated over $3,000 to charity, $800 to like gifts and generosity to others, and then we spent over $400 on Christmas. So that was not surprising because we did really prioritize donating a lot of money this year to charity. And then for travel, I had him recall all the different months that we traveled, either together or separately, and he actually got all of this right. So he remembered that I went and visited my sister in April, and then we both went to Tennessee over the 4th of July. We went to like a lake. And then we both went to Maine in August. And then in September, my husband traveled to a wedding by himself, and then we both traveled to a different wedding together. And then in October, I did go on a girls' trip. And then in December, my husband traveled without me to go to a funeral. And then we both traveled, obviously, for the holidays. We went and saw my family this year. So yeah, lots of travel between the two of us. And then the breakdown of this is that we spent over $1,900 on family travel. We spent almost $800 going to Los Angeles, and then over $800 on my girls' trip. And so this is actually very much subsidized by credit card points. So we redeemed over $1,200 in credit card points, which helped pay for the Los Angeles trip and a lot of our family travel. So yeah, closer to maybe like $5,000 on travel this year, but we went to like 9 different places. So a lot of them had to do with family, but we also went to Tennessee, Maine, Los Angeles, my girls' trip, and then all the rest were just family trips. So it was actually kind of a lot of travel this year. Even though we didn't travel internationally, I still feel like we went and saw a lot of people, we did a lot of things, and it was a good year. And then I also thought it would be fun to look at my husband's top payee. So the way that we track our spending, we have our own category groups, so it's really easy to just see, what our top payees were in our category groups. So for him, it was Venmo. He spent over $450 on Venmo, and I looked at the transactions and the notes, and most of this was pickleball. So this is one of his major hobbies. He loves pickleball. And then my top payee was our local movie theater. I also spent over $400 just going to the movies with my friends. I have a filmy friend group where we go and see all of the more artsy films and also horror films and things like that. So yeah, my husband isn't quite as interested in seeing all of the different movies that I see, especially horror. He doesn't like horror at all. So yeah, anyway, this was a really fun movie year for me, and it's pretty normal for me to spend anywhere from $400 to $600 on going to the movies every year, and it's worth it for me. Okay, and then I just briefly showed him that housing and healthcare were quite expensive in our core expenses, and those did increase from last year. And then also our gifts and donation and travel increased from last year, but some of this was offset by spending a lot less in transportation and not having to pay anything towards debt anymore. So I just kind of explained those trends to him, and he was like, okay, yeah, that seems reasonable. Okay, and then for summary and highlights, we invested almost as much as we spent, so over $60,000, which was crazy, and we were super happy about this. We donated over $3,000. We traveled to 9 places between the two of us. We bought stuff for ourselves in the apartment that we actually like using or wearing, which was also, a great thing. And then we achieved a net worth of over $150,000 and investments of over $100,000. So we more than doubled our investments and we doubled our net worth, and that was really, really awesome. So yeah, that's the presentation that I presented to my husband. I tried to keep it more high level and not get into all of the details of all the different categories, and he really, really enjoyed it and was like, oh, I want you to do this for me every year. So maybe let this be your sign that if you're kind of the person in the relationship who cares more about finances, maybe you should make a presentation for your partner so that they know what's going on with your finances. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave any questions in the comments below, and subscribe if you're not subscribed so that you don't miss a future video. I do like to post budgeting videos and also monthly financial updates on this channel. But yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.